Welcome to an extra special on-location episode of Being Jewish, your home for deeply candid conversations on Jewish identity, culture, and current events. I'm your host, Jonah Platt, and today I'm here on the streets of our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., and on my way to bring you to a house unlike any other in America. Now, what makes this particular townhouse so special? It's a multi-faith, multicultural, co-living space called Abrahamic House, where Christian, Jewish, Muslim, and Bahá'í fellows live together, work together, celebrate together, and build real community together over the course of a 2-year program. And if you think that's special, wait until you meet the man who dreamed it all up. His name is Mohammed Al-Samawi. He's a Muslim, Yemeni, who's devoted his life to growing connections between different faith communities. And what's more miraculous than what he's accomplished with Abrahamic House is that he's even alive to do it. He's got an incredible story. I can't wait for you to hear it. So let's go meet him, shall we? I've actually never met Mohammed in person before, so I'm really excited. Here he comes.
Hello, hello.
Hello, there he is. Finally, great to see you.
Welcome.
Thank you, thanks for having me.
Thank you. This is actually Abrahamic House.
Beautiful. This looks like a dining room.
It's actually where we do Shabbats almost every week. And also we do some Ramadan celebration here, Eid celebration. We share bread together.
It's a small table.
It's a very large table. We actually make it like all the way to the living room.
Nice.
But this is kind of like, where's the heart of Abrahamic House? Where's happening everything here? Upstairs, there's the bedrooms.
Where the fellows live.
Because
this is where they live. It's their house.
This is their house.
I see the kitchen. That's where they...
The kitchen is there.
Cook.
We also
is that where they make these meals?
We cook everything from the kitchen.
Oh, wow.
And then we bring it here. It's kind of like hospitality.
Yeah.
And we show the love that, how we want to show it to the others, like, in a way, family style thing. So we don't like really to buy foods from outside. We like to cook it here and serve it to the community.
Amazing. What is this?
This is actually a Muslim Shabbat, we call it. So that's when you want to say blessings to God, or you want to remember God, we do it in Islam.
I love it. And it's resting on the mezuzah.
It is. So it's
a
celebration of our interfaith thing in the Abrahamic House.
Awesome.
Yes.
All right. Let's check out this room.
This walls actually represent a lot of the fellows who are staying here. So each picture, it has meaning thing for our fellows. For example, for this year, our Christian fellow, his origin is his family is from South Korea.
Okay.
So he's want to bring this kind of stuff also from his tradition, from his culture to the house. So you can see, for example, this is a phrase actually from the Bible, but in actually Korean. So he's putting it there. And then you can see that this is the Bahá'í gardens. So our Bahá'í fellow is putting it.
I see there's a picture of Seoul, Korea.
Yes.
Okay, well, this is awesome.
Yes.
This looks like a good place to have a conversation.
I think that would be a perfect place for us.
All right. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
You wrote an autobiography. You wrote a book about your life, your journey. It's called The Fox Hunt, a refugee's memoir of coming to America. And the intro begins with, God is great, death to America, death to Israel, damn the Jews, victory to Islam. What is the significance of those slogans?
It's interesting that you actually asked me this question, because you remind me of my first speech I did in the United States. As a refugee who comes to the United States, the first day I was in San Francisco and I just discovered Uber and I discovered KFC, and I was so amazed about the freedom of things that you can do in the United States. The second day I was in front of 300 students at Stanford University. And that's when I realized that I actually will be speaking about my trauma. I was speaking about why I cannot go back to Yemen anymore. These slogans that you just read right now is a way of why I was almost being killed in Yemen. And it's not what represents definitely Yemenis. It's not definitely represent what Islam is about. It represents a group of people who is full of hate, and you want you to focus on something instead of focusing about the corruption they are having and how they are trying to destroy our country. So they make in a way that they want you to focus on an enemy, and that's enemy that you can blame them for everything that's happened. I think if there is an earthquake happen, they will say it's because of Jews.
Mm. So let's take it back to the beginning. Tell us where exactly are you from? What was your family like growing up?
I'm from the heaven of the world. I'm from Yemen.
Where in Yemen?
I'm from Sanaa. And if you go to Yemen, you will see how people know how to be happy without spending money. You'll see kids playing football without wearing shoes. You see neighbors who know each other. A neighbor can knock your door at 12 p.m. and ask you if you have sugar to give it to them. I miss Yemen so much. I was lucky because I was born with an educated family. Both of my parents are medical doctors. All my family are actually medical doctors. I'm the only one in the family who's not a doctor.
Wow.
And the reason behind it is because of my disability. And when I was a kid, I went to my mom and I said, Mama, why me? Why God gave me such disability? Why he didn't give it to the other kids who was taking fun of me? And she said two things, which actually resonate to me a lot today. She said, first, God doesn't give you everything that you want. And if you think about it, you cannot find anyone in the world who has everything that they want. You always have something that's missing in your life. And I think that's a way of like spirituality also, like the way when you pray to God and ask him for something, it's actually give a taste for life in a certain way when you don't have it. The second thing she said, like if God takes something from you, he give you something in return. As a kid, I was thinking that God will give me $1 million because of my disability, but it didn't happen. What happened is something else. I was able to be a person who want to create friendship since I was a kid. And it was so hard for me to create friendships because of my disability. I think because of the way of like, I couldn't play sport, I couldn't ride a bicycle. So it was hard for me to do other activities that other kids can do. But again, because I have an amazing parents, they were giving me a lot of movies and a lot of like music so I can listen to it. And that's actually how I learned English. And I think if you ask a lot of like immigrants who come to the United States, they will tell you they learned English by watching Friends.
Yeah, I hear that all the time.
I'm one of them.
Oh, wow.
And I think that was the first experience in my life of thinking about America as a beautiful country. Because in Yemen, we are a family-oriented culture. You live in the same house with your family. But in France, you saw people from different perspectives, different backgrounds, living together. If you ask me, why did I create Abrahamic House? It actually came from that idea.
Wow.
And for me, I felt like it was so amazing that, you have Monica and Rose who are like Jewish, and then you have Catholic like Joey, and they still are bestie friends and they're staying together. And that was an amazing thing for me. But, when I was growing up, and it's so resonating to what's happening right now, actually. When I was 13 years old, I had a dream.
Okay.
My dream was exactly like October 7th.
Really?
I dreamed that I wanted to go to Israel and kill all the Jews. And there was a reason about that. It's not because I'm a bad kid and I was just dreaming to kill someone. When I was 13 years old, I saw a video in school. I saw a video of Mohammed Al-Durrah, a Palestinian kid who was killed by Israeli soldiers. This was the cause of the second Intifada. And at that moment, when I saw the video of Mohammed Al-Durrah was killed, I went back to my parents' house. I was just listening to Britney Spears and dreaming. My dream that I want to go to Israel and kill Jews. That was I was thinking about it. But I think God is so merciful because in a way that I was able to do investigation. And it didn't come from a way that I want to know about the others. No, it came first because I was so religious and I'm spiritual. But at that moment, I was praying 5 times a day. I was like going to the mosque and I asked the imam and I asked everyone, like, what's the best thing to do?
I read in the book, at every level, at home, at school, at the mosque, constant drilling to hate Jews in all these different ways. I mean, that Jews killed Muhammad, that Jews eat pork, that Jewish texts are demonic, that Jews are overly sexual. Why is that so critical to the upbringing that you receive in your community and in your culture? Like, why is it not enough to just have the Muslim teachings, but also the anti-Jewish teachings as part of it?
I think, again, because of the way what you're seeing in TV, the way what you're seeing, like, intifada or like, conflict, you're always seeing a Jew and a Muslim as a conflict. And the way how you're seeing it, that you want to justify it. So you say, like, the Jews are bad. The Jews want to kill us. And that's the way that you feel like you need to defend yourself. You need actually to react about it. And as I told you before, I think, like, it's really easy way of creating a fake enemy in a certain way, and you just blame this enemy for everything. In Yemen, and I'm talking even before the Houthis was exist. I'm speaking about like before that even. If you are lying, for example, you will see people saying you're a Jew because they think that Jews are liars, things like this. Why this happened? It's just like because of all the stereotypes that you've been taught about Jews. But the truth is, the Jewish community is a very structural thing in Yemen community. If you go to the kitchen, to the music, to the design of buildings, old Sanaa is mostly was designed in a very beautiful ways. And you can, until today, if you go to old Sanaa, you would see doors that has the stars of David on them. And just show how much the Jewish community is very one big thing from the Yemeni community. What happened to us is that we had a corrupted, in a way, political system, leadership. And for them, it's easy to say, we couldn't build hospitals because of this, because of that. So they're creating things easier of Jewish, because you don't know anything about Jewish. For example, I used to believe that Jewish people, eat pork.
Right.
Then you discover, actually, they don't eat pork. They're actually like us. And the reason why I discovered all the stereotypes that I've been taught about Jews are not true. And also the way how I discovered that we are so similar to each other is actually by reading the Torah. And once I was reading the Torah, I was discovering why I was not learn about how much we are actually having similarities. Instead of I was learning how much we have differences.
Yeah, that's what I'm sort of trying to wrap my head around is what is the real motivation for teaching so doggedly to hate Jews, hate Jews, hate Jews?
Listen, I'm not a political guy. I think I hate politics so much, and sometimes I feel like politics is part of the problem that we are having in this world right now. But I think also, in a way, when you have someone who trying to represent the Jewish people, in a way, either in Israel or other people, and they're not acting from the perspective of Tukun Alam, or what Sadaqah is all about. For me, when I came to United States, how I came to United States is through the Jewish values. And that's what actually brought me. But unfortunately, what you're seeing right now in the media doesn't reflect that.
Right.
Specifically in the Arab world, what you're seeing right now in the media is you're seeing only one side of the story.
Yeah. Does anybody anywhere question this narrative?
Even if you go to the Jewish community right now in Israel, who are Yemenite, and ask them about what they think about Yemen, they will show you how much they're proud to be Yemeni. They still want to go back to Yemen one day because they love the country, they love the people themselves. They didn't see that hate that came. Of course, as I told you, you can, if you lie, you say you're a Jew or things like that. Or in the days of the Imam, for example, a Jew was not able to ride a donkey. Only Muslims can ride a donkey, but the Jews cannot do that. But still, they were feeling that they're safe. They can still be a Jew, and they can feel safe in a certain community in Yemen. But everything changed really is because of the Houthis. And the Houthis, the way when you say the logo, death to America, death to Israel, damn the Jews, that's not even a Houthi logo. That actually came from the Iranian regime. Right. And they take it from the Iranian regime and they broke it as their own logo.
You received one lesson in school that I believe influenced the name of your book, The Fox Hunt.
Yeah.
What was that lesson?
Jews. I learned that, you cannot trust Jews because, even if they smile in your face, they will try to kill you from the back. It's like foxes. And it's funny because if you read my book, you will see how much I was actually in the end a fox who was trying to hide from being hunting. So that's why I named my book The Fox Hunt.
And in the way that you're taught about Jews, is there a distinction at all between Jews and Israel in the way that what they're indoctrinating folks with?
Some and some. Sometimes you hear from the media that just Jews in general are bad.
Just Jews.
And sometimes also you also hear Israel. So there is the sometimes definition. But you can say you have a message of also hating Jews. It's anti-Semitic message is out there. And you can see it in everywhere, even in songs, even in things like that. Sometimes, and I'm literally not speaking only about Yemen,
right?
Also about the Arab world in general. You have some songs that say because you are a son of a Jew or something like this. So I think there is a kind of hate about someone who is different from you because you are Jewish.
How does that all jive with watching Friends? And you're watching these Jewish characters, and you said a lot of people did that to learn English. How do people feel about those characters, or does it not change the way you think about Jews?
Actually, I like that what you're saying because I think movies played a big role of us thinking about Jews they're actually not that bad actually. By the way, a lot of people also was watching these movies of Adam
Sandler,
for example.
Yeah,
his movies was playing a big role there. But like even in France, there was actually, I think it's one of the few cities in the whole world where actually Yemen was mentioned. Chandler actually he went to Yemen because he wanted to escape. He went to Yemen and he had an experience in Yemen and came back. So Yemen was mentioned actually in France a couple of times. And I know how much Yemenis was so proud of that, like, by seeing this. And I think, again, like when you start seeing Jewish people as actually human beings, you start thinking about all these kind of stereotypes that you've been taught.
How do you reconcile this, hateful anti-Semitic ideology with the rest of Islam and the parts that you love about Islam?
I don't think so. It's related to Islam itself. For example, the Prophet Moses was mentioned in the Quran more than the Prophet Muhammad.
Jesus was too, right?
Also, Prophet Jesus was also mentioned about it. And like when we speak about Judaism, also we realize about it as a holy faith. We don't say that it's not a faith. Actually, it's something else. We consider it as a holy faith. I think a big conception happened really is like when Israel was created, and like that made the way of like, trying to, okay, now we are angry more toward Jews and all this kind of stories.
What do you think is it that changed for the Arab world once that Israel was created that created that shift?
I think it was like about like why it's this land, why they take it from Palestinians. That's the way how the concepts come from. And like, okay, now they're trying to attack us. Now the Jews trying to attack the Muslims by going to this land and trying to take it and like trying to let the Palestinians leave to another place. So from that concept, this kind of like hate comes more about the Jews themselves. But what they don't understand that, I have some Israeli friends who are wonderful human rights. They actually care a lot about Palestinians, and they care about Israelis, but you don't see that in the media.
That seems to be mostly what we see in Western media from the other side.
100%.
Is there a big group of Muslims who don't feel that way that we're just not seeing?
You need to understand that there was some religious teachings that teach you to hate Jews or something like this. For example, there is a theory says that, the last day on earth will not come unless the last Muslim killed the last Jew. So like just to have such hate from this perspective, that's interesting. Then when you go to the other side, when you go speak about someone Jewish and say like to him, what do you think happened in the last day of the earth? He said like, everyone else will be our servants. So like you feel like if you're not Jewish, if your mother will not be Jewish, then everyone else will be just servants that serve Jews.
I've never heard that before.
Some people believe about that. And so you will see you have a couple of groups, different perspectives, and all comes about hate and they think about it. And if you think about it, like, when October 7 happened, unfortunately, and the war in Gaza, you will see a lot of people who are motivated by believing in these legends. And they think that that's part of their identity. What we do, and that's why interfaith is very important, is actually show you that that's not true. And when we come to Abrahamic House, or not Abrahamic House, just interfaith in general, you start seeing that we actually so similar to each other, and even our differences, it's not about like demolish you. It's actually being how we can live together in this way, on this earth.
Okay, so now let's jump back to you're 23 years old.
Yes.
You're learning English, and you have this teacher.
Yes.
Pick it up from there.
Imagine that finally you have the chance to convert someone to your religion. In Judaism, we don't have that in a lot of ways, but in Islam, we love it. And I was having the moment to finally meet the first kind of Christian teacher that I was able to convert him to Islam. I was in the mosque. Actually, I was not thinking to convert him to Islam. I was thinking like, he told me the bad news that he's going back to his country. And I felt like I created friendship with him. So I don't want him to leave to his country without remembering me. So I thought I want to give him a gift, like a ring or a perfume. So when he go back to his country, he will remember me. But then I went to the mosque and the imam started kind of like giving his speech. And one of his speech he was giving is that, when the day of the judgment came, Muslims will go to heaven, but Jews and Christians will not go to heaven. And again, you have all these extreme kind of zones from everywhere. And for me, I felt like, oh my God, Luke will go to heaven. I want to save him. I don't want him to go to heaven. So my gift for him is actually bring him to heaven.
Yeah.
So I tried to convert him to Islam. So I gave him a copy of the Quran. And I told him, if you care about our friendship, I wanted to read it. And he told me, okay, but in one condition. And I didn't know at that time that Luke was actually a missionary in Yemen. He was trying to convert others actually to know about Jesus Christ. So he gave me the Bible and he told me, in the same time I'm reading your book, you need to read my book. So imagine I went back to my home and he didn't give me the Bible the way how I gave him the Quran. He gave it to me hiding in a green plastic bag, because if anyone saw a Bible with me in the street, I would be in a big problem.
Why?
Because you shouldn't have a Bible like with you in easy way. Like, how people ask you, from where did you get it? Who gave it to you? And then he will be in a problem. And again, remember, like, he cannot even say like, I'm a missionary working in Yemen. Like, he need to have a secondary job, like working on it, and then tell people about like what he believe about. So I went back home and I started reading the Bible, and I was so fascinated about it, but he didn't tell me, and nobody taught me even in school, that the Bible has Old Testament. If you're actually reading it from the beginning, you're actually reading the book of the Jews.
Yeah.
For me, at that time, it was the book of Enoch. I didn't know that. So I was reading, and I was so fascinated about the similarities about it. And I felt like it's a really beautiful book. For me, when I'm reading the Quran, I just feel some sweet in my mouth when I'm reading it. And when I was reading the Old Testament, I had the same feeling, even though when I was reading it. So I called him. I said, like, I just want to have some question for you. And I said, like, actually, Mohammed, can you go to the middle of the book? I said, like, what kind of people want to read the book from the middle? And then all these stereotypes that I was being taught about it back when I was a kid, that the Bible is a holy book, but is being changed by priests and rabbis and things like that, and they make it unholy. And I told him, why you want me to read it from the half? Why don't want to read it from the beginning? Is it because I will discover something? He said, no, because you're reading not the Torah. And I wanted to read the Christian Bible. And that's when it hit me. I'm reading the book of Jews. This is actually what the Jews believe about it. And the more that I'm reading about it, the more I feel like, oh my God, we are so similar to each other. Actually, there is phrases in the Torah. If you convert it to Arabic, it will be exactly how it is in the Quran. So at that time, I was able to find Christians in Yemen and ask them questions. At that time, the Jews in Yemen were suffering because of the Houthis, and they were coming after them from village to another village to another village. So I was not able to contact really with Jews from Yemen. But I discovered something new in Yemen, was called Facebook. And through Facebook, it was a window of hope. And by the way, a lot of people until today, in Yemen and other places, they're using social media so totally different from the way how we're using social media in America. They're using social media because it can be a window of like outside of the propaganda of the government, outside of what they want you just to watch on the TV. So for me, it was the chance to actually ask Jews questions. The question is, how can you find a Jew on Facebook? For me, it was writing the word Israel. That's what I did. So I was writing the word Israel and trying to find people from Israel. And I'm assuming that anyone from Israel is Jewish. So I will ask them these questions. And the first thing that attracted me, it was, I was like watching like, some profiles, and sometimes I would still see beautiful ladies, and I message them and I say, greetings from Yemen. My name is Mohammed. I know that you're a Jew. I know that you're from Israel. What do you think of Yemenis? What do you think of Muslims? You're sincerely Mohammed. So imagine how many people responded. But the more that I was sending these messages to everyone, I was so lucky that the first person who responded to me, his name Nimrud. At that time, he was living in Israel. Now he lives in the United States. And he told me like, by the way, I don't hate Muslims. I have actually many Muslims friends and many Palestinians friends, he also said to me. And I'm happy to connect you with them. And I said like, but that's not what I've been taught, and that's not what I'm seeing actually. So he put me in a group on Facebook when I actually met for the first time Jews, Muslims, Christians, people from different religions, talking to each other on Facebook about how we can live together in peace. And for the first time in my life, I started realizing, now I'm so happy that God gave me such disability. Because if I didn't have my disability, I wouldn't learn English. And because if I didn't learn English, I wouldn't meet Luke. And if I didn't meet Luke, I wouldn't be on Facebook. And in that moment, I started opening the Torah, opening the Bible, and just posting about the similarities and differences about us every Friday. And I became a public figure in that group. Everyone was watching my posts on Friday when I post about it. And that's how I started my Interfaith journey.
What did the discovery of that Bible and the truth in there, like, what did that unlock for you? Like, not everybody would see that, read that, and go, okay, now I want to go on Facebook and become friends with Jews.
Again, I think that's blessing from God to have such disability. It created me that I want to investigate more and ask questions more and do adventurous things in some way, like, others might not doing it. Maybe just to tell them, like, even if I have a disability, I can do things that you cannot do in a certain way. But I think like the one that struck me a lot is that even when I was on Facebook, I remember there was also like, not a war, but there was also like airstrikes in Gaza and stuff like that. And people start not stopping talking to each other in the group itself. And I felt like, okay, that's a fake world. Like, what's in reality happens is something different. Until I decided that I will go to a conference in Bosnia because I want to meet the first Jew in my life. And that's what shifted my perspective totally from being just someone who's celebrating about the similarities and differences about us to someone who actually wants to do interfaith in the field and trying to change the communities and speaking against hate.
You go to this Muslim Jewish conference.
Yeah.
Do you tell your parents?
Yes, I told them actually that I'm going there to convert people to be Muslims. Imagine like this. Again, my parents are very educated and doctors, but like when you tell them like I'm going to a conference to meet Jews, like, what they will say. And especially that my parents are they care about me a lot. They worry about me a lot. So I never actually traveled alone by myself before that. This was the first time ever in my life that I was able actually to travel by myself because they were always trying to protect me because of my disability. When I told them like, I'm going to convert others to be Muslims, in some way they felt proud of me, and also they felt like, I know exactly why I want to go there and they shouldn't be afraid about me. So I went to Bosnia. I went to actually Turkey first. Because in Yemen, we don't have visa for, we don't have an embassy for Bosnia at that time.
You have to go somewhere else first.
So I went somewhere else, and then I lost all my money just to see a Jew in my life. I went to Istanbul and I met the first Jew in my life who wasn't only a Jew. He was a Jew, Israeli, and gay.
Wow.
Like 3 in 1 from someone from Yemen to me.
Can you remember what that initial experience was?
I was afraid when he told me I'm gay, because he told me he's gay from the first time I met him. It's like, why he's telling me that? What does he want from me? That was the first reaction for me. Like, why he's telling me that? But also in the conference, I need to be honest, I discovered a lot of things about me, about my own faiths. For the first time, I met Muslims who doesn't wear hijab. I only was thinking that Muslim women only wearing hijab. I met Muslims who doesn't speak Arabic. And that's when I realized that it's actually not everything that I was thinking about Muslims that, is actually the truth. So you always has different things, different people who's different from everyone. And that's what changed me really in that conference. I met someone who was dancing breakdance for the first time in my life, seeing someone dancing such dance. So all those experiences for me, it was a rich experience for my life that I wanted to reflect it to my community back in Yemen. Because again, I'm a person who likes to give gifts, and I want them also to see what I'm seeing.
You come back from this conference and things start to change for you.
Yeah.
Take me there.
I mean, like the first thing is just like the sweet of doing Interfaith and felt. I felt the purpose of my life, like, gathering people together, tell them about my experience, like meeting Jews.
You're telling people back home in Yemen.
Yeah. But I tell people who I trust.
Right.
Because, when you know me very well, you will understand how much I'm trying to be careful and trying not to put myself in problems. So I didn't go to public screaming to everyone, like, I met a Jew and they're nice. I'm actually trying to choose the people who I can speaking about and how I can make this kind of conversation with them, including my family. And you can understand how much this was hard also for them. And one time my dad decided that he will cut the internet from all of our house because he doesn't want me to connect with Jews. He's afraid about me. They found a Bible in my room and they felt like, okay, he's now, instead of converting others to Muslims, he might convert to something else.
Are they afraid that, like, you're being indoctrinated?
That they will be killed.
Well, that's different. So they're afraid that you're going to be in danger because of it.
Yes.
By who?
You have extreme groups that, like Houthis and other extreme groups, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, all these kind of extreme groups. Someone like me who's trying to do something outside of the box, it will be an easy target for everyone.
Yeah. Take me now to January 2015. Tell me about the situation at that time between northern and southern Yemen.
Listen, my background, my mom is from the south of Yemen. My mom's Sunni. My dad is from the north of Yemen. My dad is Shia. So Shia, Sunni, you can say I'm sushi in certain way. But I'm not the unique person in Yemen who's doing that.
Okay.
Yemen is a diverse country, like people was doing that a lot until the Houthis came to the power. They gave this kind of distinct differences between people from the north, not only from the north, but based on your bloodline. They can tell you are from the Prophet family, so you don't need to marry someone who's not from the Prophet family. If you are from this family, you have privileges more than the other families. And that's really what happened in Yemen in that period. We start seeing this kind of like this, we can say like, distance between people from the north and the south.
Led by the Houthis?
Led by the Houthis. And the Houthis, the way how they did it really is like, when the Arab Spring happened, every young person in Yemen was happy that, finally you can protest and say your opinion and that you feel safe in a certain way. But then the Houthis came and they said, like, we will protect the people in the protesting because the government want to kill them. So everyone's saying like, okay, like they just came up the way from the mountains. They were just protecting us. But the opposite happened and they just took advantage of the situation and they took control of the whole country in the north. And then that's when I was in threat for my life. When I escaped in the south, I felt that I would be safe, but I wasn't safe also.
Okay, what made you feel like you had to leave and go to the south?
I received threats, and the threats was like that I will be killed. And in the beginning, I didn't take it seriously until they really actually was searching for me.
Searching for you?
Yeah.
How do you know they were searching for you?
They would come to me. They were searching actually for me. They called my parents' house. And I know at that time that I would be in danger.
Did you have to leave that day?
Yeah, and that day I was actually staying in a hotel. Because I thought that, if they will come to kill me, it's better to kill me away from my family because I don't want my family to see that.
And this is because you're doing this interfaith work. Yeah. There are Houthis that want to kill you.
The rumor was that I'm an agent from Mossad. And the call that I received, I cannot say like it's from the Houthis or not, but it's from the extreme groups. And at that time, you could not go to any police station because the Houthis were controlling the police stations.
Okay, so you go to the south to protect your own life.
Yeah.
When do you realize you're not safe there either?
When the Houthis also came to the south.
So they started in the north and then they came to the south as well. Are they still pursuing you individually?
Not only me. I mean, they pursued all the Yemenis. Unfortunately, the people in Yemen are not living in safe at all these days. Imagine like you're living under the Iranian regime and how the Iranian regime are taking care of the Iranians and their rights. The Houthis doing that even worse. Now in Yemen, you cannot open any business unless if you will let the Houthis be a partner with you. And they take a big percentage of it. So a lot of people are feeling endangered.
If we had another hour, I'd make you tell me all about the Houthis and how they got in there. But we're going to have to save that. You're going to have to Google that one. So you're in southern Yemen and you decide you want to get out. It's getting unsafe. The Houthis are there. Who do you turn to?
First of all, I was hiding in a small apartment. Imagine like this. When I escaped from Sanaa, I went to Aden. I was working for Oxfam and I found this apartment and I stayed with it. And the Houthis came all the way to Aden and they made checkpoints. And one of the checkpoints was even next to my home, next to the apartment. And then you also see another checkpoints of Al-Qaeda also was there also as well. So you see all these extreme groups next to you. And I was hiding in this small apartment. I was contacting Oxfam, contacting other organizations, anyone that I know in Aden. I had some family even in Aden. And at that time, I didn't even have food or drinks. And I cannot get out from my house because if I get out from my house, they would recognize me. So I wanted just to hide. But then because I believe in God, I love praying to God a lot.
Okay.
So while I was hiding, I actually was hiding in the bathroom because I felt it to be the safest area. Even if they come searching for me in the apartment, they will not find me in the bathroom.
Like how long are we talking that you're hiding in a bathroom?
13 days.
Not leaving the bathroom?
Not leaving the apartment.
Not leaving the apartment for 13 days.
I had some neighbors who was trying to help me out in a way or another.
What made you so certain, like, if I show my face, I'm in trouble?
Because it happened because there was the checkpoints next to the house itself. Like I literally, if I go down, there will be.
They're gonna they're gonna know who you are.
I remember, when the people who trying to help me out, and I know we will get to this, but when I post on Facebook and said is there anyone can help me out, and the people who said we want to help you, the first thing they said okay, we will send a helicopter, and the helicopter will just take you from the building where you are. And I told them what helicopter can take me out, and the checkpoints are there. Do you think they will say oh yes, hi, you can take him? Right. They will shut down the whole helicopter and me also at the same time. So it was a hard situation. And I will be honest, until today, this is even when I do my speaking engagements and I do everything, I don't speak about that day because these 13 days, It was the most difficult days in my life. And I didn't know that I would make it safe. I thought I would be just killed. And then when I prayed to God, I was using my laptop as a charger for my phone. I had 2G internet in my phone. And I prayed, and then I had this idea. I say, like, why don't post about it on Facebook? Maybe there's someone who can help me out. Maybe there's someone who can evacuate me and I get back to Sanaa. That was my dream.
Okay.
But the people who respond is people who I met in conferences. From Bosnia to Jordan to different other conferences. They don't know each other. The four of them, it's funny, actually, one of them, I met him in Jordan. And he received an email from Megan. Megan at that time was living in Tel Aviv, and she sent an email to all her friends.
Who's Megan?
One of the four people who helped me out.
So you have 4 friends from the conferences you've met.
Yeah, but they don't know each other.
They don't know each other. You just know each of them.
I know each one of them.
And they're all American, right?
They're Americans. And then
3 Jews and a Christian?
3 Jews and 1 Christian. And Megan sent a message to all her friends, email, and saying to them, like, do you know anyone in Yemen who can help a friend of mine escaping from extreme groups? And Justin saw her email and he replied by saying, like, hi, Megan, I actually met someone named Mohammed, and I think he will be able to help your friend. So he gave her my contact information to be able to help her friend, which is me.
Right.
And then when she told him I am speaking about Muhammad, that's when he realized, like, what's happening with Muhammad. So he saw my Facebook post and he said he wanted to help. The 4 of them, they didn't know anything about Yemen. They didn't know nothing about evacuation. And they barely know me. They just met me in conferences.
Wow.
But because they believed of me as someone who wanted to be safe, they didn't give up.
And what happened next?
It's a long story, and that's why I wrote the Fox Hunt. But they were able to do eventually a military operation, and I was evacuated with another 100 Yemeni.
Wow.
By the Indian Navy, and I escaped actually on Passover. I crossed the Red Sea.
Whoa.
Like Moses, but in the wrong direction, actually, from Yemen to Djibouti. And then I was in Djibouti, and I didn't know what will happen to me. And then these 4 people told me, do you want to come to the United States? I said, of course. They said, okay, we will see what we can do. So they post on Facebook, is there anyone who want to invite Muhammad to come to the United States? And at that time, their friends of friends, everyone is knowing the story, and they're looking at what happened to me. And they said, we want to help him. So I received invitations from different organizations, different universities. And that's when I started doing my second day in the United States, speaking at Stanford University.
Is that your first time speaking at all?
I never even spoke about myself in Arabic. How about even speak about it in English? And not only that, I didn't realize that I'm coming. At that time, they would tell me, okay, we need to do this, for you to come to the United States and do the Torah so you can be safe and come into America. And I said, yeah, but like I never thought about it, like, I would speak about myself. And then I was in front of all the students and everyone wanted me to speak about myself. Speak about what? If you want me to speak, I would like to speak about how much I love Yemen and how much I miss Yemen so much. Speak about what happened to me. At that time, it was a very traumatizing experience. And I started talking, and it seems people think that I'm good at public speaking. So the more that I started speaking about it, the more people was hearing about it. And I think that's something when you actually contacted with me, and I wanted to speak about something very important because I think your dad played a big role in my life in a way that I never actually talked to a lot of people about it, except the people who are close to me. I came to the United States. I was in San Francisco, and I talked about what happened to me, and everyone oh my God, that's an amazing story. And then the next time I was in New York, and I started talking more, and people listening. And at that time, I didn't know how to tell my story in 30 minutes or 10 minutes. If you want me to tell you, I will tell you everything, especially even things that now it's hard for me to talk about it, in 5 hours. And I was speaking Shabbat dinner in New York. And a friend of your dad, Benji Pasek, heard me speaking, and he was crying. I actually I had to stop my talk in the middle and say to him, by the way, you know that I made it safe. I'm here in the United States, nothing happened. And then he came to me, he said to me, I wanted to meet an amazing human being, and I think he would love to hear your story. So I remember he told me, but listen, he's a really busy guy, so if you can tell him just 15 minutes of the story. I met your dad in New York, and I still remember he was wearing black, a t-shirt and pajama, things like that. And okay, tell me. And I started talking to him. I tried to rush, and he told me, why are you rushing? I said, because they told me you're an important person, I only have 15 minutes to tell you the story. He said, forget what they tell you. Tell me whatever you want me to say. So I started telling him the whole story. I took 5 hours from his time. And he told me, this is one of the most amazing stories I ever heard. I want to be in touch with you. And then I didn't realize that he actually wanted to make a movie about me. And your dad changed my life in a lot of ways. Because when he did it, he invited me to come to Los Angeles to meet some people from the movie industry. I told them the story. And he came to me, he said, like, Mohammed, I have to be in their side. Because now they want to make a movie about you and I will be part of the team. But I want to protect you. So please go find a good lawyer that can represent you and can negotiate on your behalf. Not a lot of people will do that. A lot of people actually will take advantage of the situation. And I saw that actually in a lot of ways. But in your dad, not was the case like this. So when we start like negotiating and writing the rights for the movie, he came to me and he said, like, just to let you know, this is a story based on true story. And if you want to keep the real story of what happened to you, maybe you can write a book. And because of that, I received 12 offers to write my book, The Fox Hunt.
Wow.
A lot of people think that the movie deal came after the book. It was the opposite.
Interesting.
The movie deal came first. And then because of that, everyone else was fighting to have the rights for me to write the book without even them know exactly what I'm writing in the book. Thank God the book became very successful and I was able to write it in 6 months.
Wow.
Because everything was on Facebook. So
amazing.
It was an easy thing.
Yo fam, if you want to make sure you never miss a beat with what's happening in my world, make sure you get signed up for my weekly newsletter. I use it as a central hub for everything that's going on in my life, from extra thoughts on these episodes, to new projects I'm working on, to my live appearances, and just things that are inspiring me week to week. It's zero spam, just us hanging out once a week in your inbox. Head over to beingjewishpodcast.com or click the link in the show notes and drop your email. Would love to see you over there. All right, back to the show. You start in San Francisco, you end up in New York. Now we're in Washington, D.C., and you've created Abrahamic House. Like, where did this come from?
Because I hated speaking more and more about myself. I don't like to speak about my trauma. My trauma doesn't identify me as a human being. I'm Mohammed. I used to love a lot of things back in Yemen. I love Interfaith for a reason. Why did I love Interfaith? It's because of friendship. It's because of the image of friends that when I was seeing it in the shows and how you can create connection. But then I see the hate that is happening this before the October 7th, before the war in Gaza, before everything. I started seeing that America, the dream that I was thinking about it, is not reality. People actually don't talk to each other. And there's a lot of stereotypes against each one. I came to the United States as a refugee. It's really hard to create a community for yourself. So when I created the Abrahamic House in the beginning, I created it for myself. I wanted to create it through the friends, through the style of friends. Having 4 people staying in the house, they invite their friends and families, doing interfaith, and I will be part of this community and enjoying it, and that's it. But I didn't know that it has a much bigger mission for it. In the beginning, I just wanted to do interfaith, but then I saw how much changed people's lives. In Abrahamic House, you have people who was exactly like me, was believing exactly the same thing against Jews or Muslims, or people who are different from them. And they come to the house and discover the truth. And they change their lives. People who are not living here, but who are guests, who get brought in. Even the fellows themselves. We have fellows who have their own experience. We have people who have been hurt by religion themselves, and they want to rediscover again their love for the religion. We also have people who come to Abrahamic House who just really want to create community and friendship. We have people who are sick of social media, sick of the hate that they're seeing around it. And they want to find space, beyond of that. And then we have people who are actually also, which is really interesting to see them. We have people who are religious, and they want to see how people think about the religion from their eyes. So they come to the Abrahamic House, but then they start discovering about other faiths. And that's, they open that. What I love about the Abrahamic House is the safety about it and the hospitality that we do. But then October 7th happened.
So let's talk about what happened here around October 7th and post-October 7th. Tell me what shifted for the house.
First of all, I was depressed in my apartment. I didn't want to see anyone. I was reaching out to all my Jewish friends and Muslim friends. And I would tell them, this is not identify us, we need to keep talking to each other. And then I received a call from the fellows and said, Mom, where are you? We didn't see you this week. And I told them, okay. And they said, we just want to let you know what the events that we're doing for this month. And I said, what are you doing? And I said, first we will go to a mosque. and we will hear the imam speaking about the war in Gaza. And then we will go to a synagogue and we'll speak about the hostages and what happened October 7th. And after that, we will go to a church. And we would like you if you can come to us. And because we have a lot of community members who want to go. I went there and I saw that, what Abrahamic House means to the community. We had people from all the perspectives coming to us, the Abrahamic House. But what's fascinating? When we went to the mosque, people saw like Jewish people, Christians, people from different religions coming and hearing about what happened in Gaza. They came to us, they said, like, who are you? Like, why you come here? It's like, we told them about Abrahamic House. You know what they did? They came to us for the first time in their lives in the synagogue. And they heard about October 7th, and they heard about the hostages.
Who did? Members of that mosque who were not part of the Abrahamic House group?
Not part of the Abrahamic House. Just because so they saw a different community coming, and they want to actually listen to them and just like seeing what they're talking about. And then we go to the synagogue, and then we go to the church. And then we understand, like, you know what? Abrahamic House is a healing perspective of what we need right now. We can be different in different perspectives. But we want to feel safe that whoever we are, we can be in a space and we can be who we are. And that's what I think, like, the way how Abrahamic House shifted. In the beginning, we had like 30, 40 people coming to each event of Abrahamic House. Now we had to close the registration as soon as we post about the events, because everyone around Washington, D.C., they want to come to events. We have people even outside of Washington, D.C., they literally come by train to come to our event.
It's not just, I'm interested in what's going on. It's, I need this for myself.
100%.
Yeah.
Because it gives you like a hope. It gives you a better perspective of the world. You coming to the house, whether you're wearing a kippah or hijab or whatever it is, and like you feel like you're still safe. You are from the LGBT community and you're still feeling safe. You are actually religious and you feel like you've been hurt. And I think that's what America is all about and how it should be America. And what we've seen right now in America, unfortunately, is something else. We're seeing that you cannot actually be who you are. You have to act it in a certain way, or you need to be angry, or you need to shout on others. But to have a space, and like that's why we all come to America in a certain way, because I think it is a land of refugees. We were coming from different perspectives to America because they want to feel safe. And they want to celebrate their diversity.
Are there rules that people have to follow here? Or do people break those rules when they're at these events?
And which is fascinating a lot. Like, I was thinking that will happen because of like, what we see in the protestings, when we see how people are angry and things like that. Not in Abrahamic House. I think because the love and the compassion that the fellows are bringing to the Abrahamic House. And the way when they do their events, they're doing it from the heart to the heart. I told you, like, we start our events in the kitchen. And we cook everything there in the kitchen, and then they provide this to the community. We don't take money from the community when they come to our events. We only give them a good time so they can be together. And I think that was a great perspective about hospitality. When someone comes to your house, they don't want to be rude to you and to your house. So they come, even if they are angry or even if they want to say something, they come and they respect themselves. And then when they see how people are coming to Abrahamic House, not to actually hate each other, but actually to feel safe with each other, they changed their perspective.
Right.
So thank God we didn't see any kind of hate about Abrahamic House, except from extreme groups who sometimes we receive threats from them. For us, I think when we started as a community for me, and then it's growing up. And then I discovered that there is a big mission for Abrahamic House, because we don't want just to be a house in Washington, D.C. We want to do the same impact that we're doing right now everywhere. And that's when I realized that I'm the worst manager ever. Because I enjoy doing the events. I enjoy, as you can tell, like, I create friendship with the fellows.
Yeah.
And that's why also I think it's unique about it. But I don't know how to escalate the organization to be other houses. And that's when God helped me in a way with the help of the board, to start searching for an executive director for Abrahamic House who knows exactly how to expand Abrahamic House to other locations.
Mo, you mentioned that there's some Yemeni coffee in the kitchen, which I have never tried before. I love coffee. On this show, I've had Ethiopian coffee with Biju Barhani, but not Yemeni coffee, which I know is totally different, its own thing. And we're going to take it outside to your beautiful patio to chat with two of your Abrahamic House fellows. We're going to chat with Alex, who's a former Christian fellow, and Rachel, who's an incoming Jewish fellow. But if you want to catch that conversation, you need to be part of my Kehillah. That is my subscriber-only community where you're going to get exclusive footage every week, exclusive merch drops, exclusive ticketing to some of my live events, monthly FaceTime with me, and all kinds of other goodies. So you can join right now or anytime, but you should do it now at beingjewishpodcast.com/community. If you're not part of the Kehillah, we're going to cut, and this conversation is just going to keep going like nothing ever happened. But otherwise, Mo, let's go grab that coffee. I want to take it a little bit, too, as we wrap up here, just some questions more specifically about Judaism and Islam, Muslims and Jews. The fact of the matter is most of the world's most violent terrorists are extremist Muslims with an extreme Islamist ideology. How do you convince people that Islam is not fundamentally dangerous when they see, the worst coming from the worst of that community and hearing, the story of the way that people are being indoctrinated around the Muslim world?
I think they need to do a journey the same way I did the journey about Judaism. You need to do your own investigation about Islam and Muslims, and you need to meet Muslims. I mean, Muslims are if we're speaking about America, they're a very active community here in the United States. You can meet Muslims and understand that extremism is not part in any way of Islam. As I told you before, my dad used to say in every bathroom, in every house, there is a bathroom. So in every community, you'll see some extreme people from there and there. But I think we, as an individual, we need to do our own journey of explore and investigate. And that's why I created Abrahamic House. Because, for example, in Abrahamic House, we have one thing we say. We don't have an agenda. So when people are coming, either you are a fellow or even if you are a community member, we don't speak about we need to do this event because we want to change this people's perspective or that people's perspective. This is whatever the fellows are want to do. Sometimes we just do parties, and I am the DJ, and I'm the worst DJ. But because we are trying to create a space where people can actually ask questions. When Luke, the teacher, gave me the Bible, he didn't give me the Bible and he said I wanted to convert to Christianity. No. He gave me the Bible and he said in the same time I'm reading your book, you read my book, and that's it. So it is my choice to do whatever I want to do with it. And that's exactly what people need to do. They do their own journey, their own investigation, and then they would not understand their own explanation about it. Listen, you'll have people who think Muslims are extreme, and also you'll find people who think Jews are extreme. And the only way how you can actually divide that is just by doing your own coffee meetings with Muslims and Jews, and just see it from yourself. Are they really bad people or good people?
Where would you suggest people look to find moderate Muslim voices like yours?
I think everywhere. I think if you just go in your own road, in your own coffee shop, and you see someone who you feel like they're Muslims, whether they're wearing hijab or they're reading Quran, go talk to them. If you go to an Uber driver, a lot of Uber drivers, they came from immigrant communities, and you can see their name, Mohammed or Ahmed, talk to them, ask them questions. What do they think about this? What do they think about that? And see their perspective and have a real conversation with them. But also, I think it's wrong to start asking them questions about, what do you think about that? What do you think about this? Because that's meaning that you are actually investigating or interviewing them. Mm-hmm. How about you know them as a human being? See what are the common things about you and them like. What kind of football team they like. What kind of food they like. And then after that, you have this conversation, then ask them in a friendly way about things that you think they believe about it, and see what the reaction will be about. That's the real conversation that you do. Not in the other way, when you start just investigate with them by asking them hard questions about themselves.
Is there an awareness, you think, within the Muslim community of the fear that non-Muslims have of them?
I think there is some organizations who's trying to represent Muslims, but they're representing Muslims in the wrong way. In a way that, if you're saying to them, for example, I'm doing Interfaith or I'm doing something like that, they will try actually to push you back from doing it. And from this perspective, this organization trying to represent the Muslims, the majority of the Muslims who lives here in the United States. So they gave a bad image for us who lives here in this country, and we love this country. I think there is some work need to be done to these organizations, and knowing more about what their values really. This is the American values based on the American, what we believe here in America, that diversity, even if we are different from each other, we need to live in this land together in peace and harmony, or not. I think that's a very important thing to ask.
Okay, last question before we do our little lightning round game to finish things off. What gives you hope for the future?
God. I'm a big believer of God, and I'm imagine this. Imagine if you have all this stress in your life, and you have someone who says to you, bring our stress and brought it to me, how light you will feel. And for me, when I pray to God every day, I just feel like all the stress that I have, listen, I'm far away from my family. I have all this kind of things happen. And every day when I pray to God, I feel like there's nothing to worry about because God is there and I know that He is the best planner for us. When I was a kid, I was thinking like, why God gave me such disability? But look to this, I'm right now sitting with Jonah Platt, like and talking to him. And I think like, there's certain things that can happen to our lives. And we always say like, why this happened thing to me? But if you believe good in God, I think they will have a better results that come to you in your future. So for me, even like, that October 7 and the war in Gaza and all this like things that we've seen right now, I know that there is a better thing that God planning for us.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
It's time for the lightning round. What's one of your favorite Jewish dishes you've tried?
Ooh, matzah.
Really?
Yeah. I really like matzah.
Okay.
In Yemen, we have something similar to it, actually. So, like, it reminds me
It reminds you of, huh? Okay, nice. What's one of your favorite Jewish holidays you've experienced?
Passover.
Why do you love Passover?
It's my memory of, like, also escaping from extreme in Yemen.
Oh, sure. What's one of your favorite Arabic words that has no good English translation?
Ihsan.
How would you translate that?
Doing something good that your left right doesn't know what your right hand did. So you do it not because we want people to have credit for it. You do it because you want to do it for other people and without no credit for it.
I can tell why you like that one. What was the first American food that blew your mind?
KFC, but in the wrong way. I mean, I loved it in a way, but then when I start eating it more, I feel like, okay, that's not the fried chicken experience that I really wanted to have. But yeah, I think also in America, I think it's unique from other countries. We have a lot of different cuisines.
Oh yeah.
And I love that so much. You can have kosher and halal, and you can have food from all these rounds. So I love it so much.
Which worship service is more fun? Jewish Shabbat, Christian Sunday service, or Islamic Jumu'ah?
Listen, I love everything. But I would say Shabbat has a meaningful thing for me because including food. And also, it's so nice to be like with other people, like, and just like celebrating the end of the week in a relaxing way and like also praying to God and things like that. It has something very meaningful for me.
Me too. Who's got it harder, Yom Kippur, Lent, or Ramadan?
Sorry, that's one muting question. I think all of them hard.
Yeah.
I think all of them are beautiful. In a lot of meaning way. Listen.
You would say that.
I would tell you something. I think fasting by itself is so beautiful thing because it reminds you of the people who doesn't have food like you or doesn't have blessings like you. So you have one day, 25, 26 hours.
Yeah.
And then you have 30 days in Islam and from the sunrise to the sundown. You are knowing exactly what are people who doesn't have food or poor or doesn't have that same thing that you have. And you understand their pain. So next time when you see someone who's suffering, you understand that. But also when you don't have food, because we as a human being, we need to have two kinds of foods. We need to have food of body and we need to have food for spirituality. And we forget a lot of the food of spirituality. When you do fasting for Yom Kippur, for Ramadan, for other things, you start focusing more on the spirituality and you have an amazing quality of it.
I love that. I'm going to bring that into my next holiday for sure. Which leader had it harder, Moses, Jesus, or Muhammad?
All of them, they brought a way of revolutionary way that, we need to see it from this perspective. I love about Muhammad the way how like he defeated about slavery and that we're equal, like, in this life, like, there's no difference between white and black. It's a difference that, how you worship God. And I think that's a very beautiful way. I love the way how Jesus Christ teach us about forgiveness. And the way that, if someone hurt you out, you need to sacrifice yourself for others. And I think that's something that we're missing right now. Where everyone wants to be me, instead of thinking about others. I love about Moses how he stand for his people. And he did all what he thinks because he trusts God. And a lot of people forget about how trusting God. And these days specifically, we need to trust God. So I think that's something that we need to learn a lot about. And like from Baha'u'llah and how he teaches how stand up for women's rights and men's rights. And how we are equal as a bird who's flying in the sky. So I think everyone has their own thing that we need to learn from it.
Amazing, beautiful. What's a Jewish tradition you wish Islam had?
I love the way how Jewish community believe in interfaith. And even if you're speaking about philanthropy or fundraising and stuff like that for interfaith, you will see the biggest community who actually believing about communicating with each other, it's the Jewish community. And I wish if other communities also believe the same way how the Jewish community is believing about it.
Amen. One thing that Jews and Muslims agree on that would surprise people.
I think for a lot of people who are listening to us, I think even the way how we pray, the way how we fast, It's similar to a lot of our tradition that other faiths doesn't have it. The way how we think about God, the way how we pray to God, it's like in the morning, in the night. It's so fascinating, similar to Islam and Judaism.
What I learned is that the Eid al-Adha, is celebrating Abraham's willingness to sacrifice Isaac. For you, it's al-Adha. For us, it's Akedah, really close. I was just surprised to learn that was something that Muslims celebrate.
Speaking of Ibrahim, I think a lot of people, they don't ask me this question, and I would love to just say
Please.
Why I named the house Abrahamic House.
Yeah.
It's not just because we all believe in Abraham as a prophet, but also there is a story of Abraham that I really love it, and that's why I created the Abrahamic House. It says one day that Abraham he loves hospitality. So every day he was opening his house, looking for anyone who's walking the street and want to see someone who want to eat. So he invited them to come. And that's something that I love. And one day he saw someone, he's like, come with me, let's break the bread together. So he come inside and they start chatting and they start eating. And before eating, Abraham said, let's pray to God. And the man said okay, then. So he go to the fire and he start praying to the fire. And Abraham was angry, what are you doing? And he said I worship fire. And Abraham said how could I bring someone to my home who doesn't believe in God and give him food? Get away from my house. So he yelled on him and the man left the house. And God talked to Abraham. He said, how dare you? This man who was not worshiping me for 50 years and more. And I never told him no. I even actually sent him all the way to you so you can give him food. And you rejected to give him food. And Abraham realized, God doesn't want you to denounce someone because he's different from you, doesn't believe the same way. It's actually the opposite. So he started running to the street until he found the man, and he started inviting him again to the house. And I think that's the core what Abrahamic is all about. It doesn't matter if we are similar of what we believe or not. It's important for us to live in the house in a way that we can share meals together.
What a beautiful way to finish the episode. Mo, thank you so much. This has been such an honor, such a pleasure. Thank you for welcoming me into Abrahamic House. If this episode spoke to you, take the core message of Abrahamic House to heart. Gathering, not othering. Share the episode with people who you think will be inspired by it. Bring people into your home. Go into others. Let's bring this dream from one house into all of our homes. You can learn more about Abrahamic House at abrahamichouse.org. And I'll see y'all right back here for the next bridge building episode of Being Jewish with me, Jonah Platt.